On today's episode of Tyler Rambles About Random Crap, I'm going to discuss... I don't even know. Alright, it has been a few weeks since I made a video. And that has been due to kind of a combination of more snowstorms here in Utah, vacations, other crazy life events that are going on right now. And today I really wanted to get out, thinking, it's going to be 70 degrees outside. Finally spring has come to Utah, but now it's all overcast. Looks like it might rain. There's about 20 mile an hour winds blowing at me right now, but hey, it's better than 6 inches of snow, so I'll take it. Hopefully all these crosswinds that I have won't destroy my audio too much as I'm talking into the mic. Of course, maybe it won't matter. I don't really have anything to discuss today. Just wanted to get out, enjoy the nice weather, and let my brain decompress a bit. All right, well, since I can't think of anything else to talk about, I think I'll tell you the story of one of my very first motorcycle rides. Definitely the first big motorcycle ride that I ever did, sort of, that I did half of. I mean, I had been on a motorcycle, tinkered with motorcycles here and there when I was a young kid, but this was my first real experience on a motorcycle that had any sort of power at all. This was, 30 years ago, 92, 93, something like that. Anyway, I had taken a trip down to California with a friend of mine. And I was planning on staying there for quite a while, maybe forever. I kind of moved down there. But after a couple of months, I just decided it wasn't for me. Couldn't find a good job. And I just wanted to come back home to Utah. And this was in Sacramento area of California, northern California. Anyway, at the same time, a different friend of mine, my oldest friend actually, I met him in 3rd grade. His name, I'll call him Joe for this story because that's his name. But anyway, Joe lived in Fresno, California. And we'd been talking, and he was planning on moving back to Utah. We met in Utah in 3rd grade. He had since moved to Fresno, California, and was moving back to Utah as well. All he had was a motorcycle, and I was in a little Toyota Tercel. That dates me if telling you that this was 1992 or 93 didn't already date me. Anyway, so he had obviously more stuff than would fit on his motorcycle to move up to Utah to live here. So I planned to help him, and the plan was I'd drive from Sacramento to Fresno. We'd load up my Toyota Tercel with his stuff, obviously the stuff that I had coming back. So this thing was packed to the brim, and then he had some saddlebags on his motorcycle to pack some of his stuff. And the motorcycle he had was a Honda Shadow 500. So not the most powerful motorcycle in the world, more powerful than my little 300 here, but a darn sight bigger than anything I'd ever been on at the time. Anyway, so we executed this plan. I drove to Fresno. Man, look at this. I feel like I'm driving on Mars or something. You're probably not going to be able to hear anything I say. It's so windy right now. Anyway, so I drove to Fresno. We loaded up the Tercel with all of the stuff that would fit, and everything else went into his saddlebags. And then the plan was to trade off, driving from Fresno to Utah, northern Utah, Provo area. So we were just going to take shifts. I drive the car for a while, then I hop on the bike. He drives the car for a while, and it would be a lot of fun, right? So probably not the safest way to really learn how to ride a bike. I didn't have a motorcycle license, and really had not been on a real motorcycle at all for years. And what little motorcycle experience I had was kind of trolling around my backyard on an old beat-up motorcycle that I bought at a yard sale. So yeah, what possessed me to hop on a motorcycle and drive on the freeway from California to Utah? I don't know. It was just, chalk it up to being, 18, 19. So anyway, he teaches me how to ride a motorcycle real quick, and then we get going, and it's going along fine. I'm taking my turn on the bike. We're on the freeway. We're driving through California, and I'm having a good time. This is, it's a motorcycle. How could I not be having a fun time? And at one point we're at where we stopped to get gas or something, and he said, "Have you been 100 miles an hour yet?" And I said, "No." He's like, "Oh man, going 100 miles an hour is amazing. You have to feel it. So this next time, go 100 miles an hour." And so I do. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go 100 miles an hour on this motorcycle. So I get going, and it's awesome. I'm flying down. It feels like I'm going, 160 miles an hour compared to what it feels like to go 100 miles an hour in a car. And this may sound like I'm building up to some big dramatic thing right here, but nothing happened. It was fine. I went 100 miles an hour for a while. It was great. Then I slowed down to kind of more the speed limit, and we just kind of settled into a rhythm. Anyway, so we're driving through California. We hit the southern Nevada border, and we're driving up towards Las Vegas, and I'm in the car, right, at this point. And to back up just a little bit, the night before I drove to Fresno to pick up my friend, I went out dancing with my other friend who's in Sacramento. We'll call him Charney because that's also his name. Anyway, so Charney and I go out dancing. We spend the whole night out. So I'd been up till probably 5 or 6 in the morning. I don't know, as you do when you're a teenager and stupid. Then I got up, drove to Fresno, picked up my friend, and we headed out. So I'm going on no sleep, right? So the time we get to the Nevada border, I'm driving in the car, and I'm just super tired, and I'm kind of dozing off. So I signaled my friend. I can't remember what system we had, but anyway, somehow I let him know that we needed to switch, because I'm like, okay, I'm falling asleep in my car. I definitely won't fall asleep on a motorcycle, so I need to switch off. So like a brilliant person, I am super tired, haven't been to bed for who knows how long. I get out of my car that I've been falling asleep in, and I get on a motorcycle on the freeway. And contrary to my naive belief, sitting on a motorcycle on the freeway, driving 70 miles an hour for a couple hours, the adrenaline kind of wears off, and you fall into a rhythm, and you start looking at the lines on the freeway and get hypnotized a little bit. Anyway, so this time I actually am leading up to something, if you can't tell. So yeah, I eventually fall asleep on this motorcycle doing 70 or 80 miles per hour on the freeway. Thankfully, my guardian angel must have been looking out for me that day, because I didn't fall asleep and fall over. I just kind of dozed off, right? And I wake up, and probably 2 seconds later. I mean, I have no way of knowing how long I was asleep, but I just got to believe it was just a second, since I'm still alive. And if you've never woken up from a nap sitting on a motorcycle on the freeway doing 70 miles an hour, I can tell you it's a rush. I wake up and I'm like, ah! I'm not going to recreate it here because I'm like, woo, woo, woo. Anyway, totally petrified me out of my mind, obviously. So I pull over immediately. My heart's going a million miles an hour. I'm not tired at all anymore. I'm just freaked out because I about killed myself. So my buddy saw me. I think I was in front, so he pulls over and he's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, I just dozed off on the motorcycle, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself on this bike. I need to get back in the car. Now, the astute among my listeners will be thinking to themselves right now, if you just fell asleep in a car and then switched to a bike and then fell asleep on the bike, why would you get back into a car and start driving, right? Well, obviously I wasn't the astute among us at the time. Again, I was a teenager and stupid. So my brilliant plan, because my adrenaline was spiked, my heart was going a million miles an hour, I kind of figured there's no way I'm falling asleep now. I just about died. So we trade back. He gets on the bike and I get back in the car. And believe it or not, I know this is going to come as a huge surprise to all of you. After the adrenaline wore off and my heart rate settled down, I dozed off. And this time I full on fell asleep, right? So I woke up and I'm heading off the road. And I panic and I overcorrect. And thankfully, I didn't flip the car. I just slid sideways on the two tires. And it blew the seal on both of my tires on the left side, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, blew two tires. And my friend, Joe, who was in front of me at this point, saw behind him this big cloud of dust from me sliding sideways. And so he turns around on the freeway, and I think he just turned around and drove up on the shoulder back to where I was. And so I'm sitting there fine, but the car it has two flat tires. So we're sitting there trying to figure out what we could do, because I only have one spare. So what we did, we decided we'd put the spare on. Man, I'm driving on some soft sand right now. I'm slipping all over the place. Anyway, so we take the other tire off, and we saw that there's a gas station up a mile or two up the road. So we figured we'll take the other tire on his motorcycle. So I'll sit on the back of his motorcycle holding a tire, and we'll zip up to this gas station and hopefully fill it up with air, and have it reseal so it can hold air again. So I got on the back of his bike. We zip up super fast. I mean, we zipped up. We were, there in a minute and a half. It was probably 2 miles up the road, and he was going like 80 miles an hour. So we get there. We use their compressed air. Fills up, no problem. So we're thinking, awesome, problem solved. So I get on the back of his bike again, holding the fixed tire, and we head back to the car again. We were probably gone 15 minutes total, driving to the gas station, putting air in it, getting back to my car. We get back to my Tercel, my poor little Tercel, and both rear windows had been broken out. Everything had been stolen from the back seat. We had taken his saddlebags off of his bike so that I could sit on the back of his bike to go fix the tire. Basically all of his earthly possessions were stolen. His saddlebags were full of CDs, and back then those were like gold to us. We didn't have Spotify and Apple Music. So all of his stuff is gone. He's since told me that the saddlebags themselves were fake leather, cheapies, so that made me feel a little bit better, because this whole time I thought he had $1,000 saddlebags that had been stolen. But anyway, so we now have a car that has shattered back windows. All of his stuff's gone. Some of my stuff as well. I can't remember all the stuff that I got stolen, but it was disappointing, to say the least. And in retrospect, I probably should have called my insurance company or something. Maybe stuff like that was covered, but new to life me just didn't even consider it. Anyway, so we got back in the car and continued on our journey. I don't remember how the split was after that, but I know I did plenty more motorcycle riding before it was over, and that was my first real experience riding a decent-sized motorcycle. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it took me 30 years to get back into it. I don't know. Anyway, it has been fun reminiscing about the good old days with you all. I appreciate you watching my videos. Subscribe to my channel if you feel like it. Ride safe and stay awake.